Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. The 64GB attract mode is ready to go. This is for the Raspberry Pi 2 and the Raspberry Pi 3. My buddy Kevin actually did this one. This is Kevin's 64GB attract mode. Now, he's added tons of stuff. We have the display menu select and everything. I'll leave a link down below to a text file. What you need to do is download the text file and copy. This is the magnet link. We're just going to go copy. We're going to open up our torrent client of choice. File. Add torrent from URL. And you want to paste it right in here. When I click OK, this torrent is already here. I already have it on my computer ready to seed. So this is Kevin's 64GB attract mode for the Raspberry Pi 2, Raspberry Pi 3. No ROMs, no BIOSes. So I already have mine downloaded, and it's right here. You're going to need to extract it. When you download it, it's 22 gigabytes. When you extract it, it's 59.4 gigabytes. So you need a good 64 gigabyte SD card. Now, I took a screenshot of my SD card before I flashed the image, and I want to show you how much space is on my SD card. It's a 59.4 gigabyte card after it's formatted. This is a SanDisk Ultra Red and Gray SD card. You might not be able to fit this on your 64 gigabyte card because some Chinese cards are really crappy and they don't even have 59.4 gigabytes. So this was done on a SanDisk Gray and Red SD card, 64 gigabyte. You're going to flash it the same way you do anything, and I already did it because it's going to take a while to flash. And the reason the image is so big without any ROMs and BIOSes is because this is a direct copy of an SD card. So I've already flashed mine. What you're going to want to do is find your drive, find your SD card here under Devices with Win32 Disk Imager, and I'll leave a link down below. Click on the blue folder and navigate to where you downloaded Kevin's image. Desktop, and double click on the image. It'll load it up. We're going to click write. It's going to overwrite your SD card. Now, I already have mine flashed, so I'm not going to click yes because it's going to take me about 30 minutes to flash it. After you're done, what you're going to do is take your SD card out of your PC, place it in your Raspberry Pi, plug in a controller of your choice and a keyboard. We're going to need that keyboard. It's important. There's no ROMs and BIOSes on this image. We're going to set it up first. We're going to come back, add some ROMs, and I'll show you how it works. So when you first boot this image up, it's going to go to Emulation Station, and we're going to need to set up our controller. I'm using a wired Xbox 360 controller. Very easy to do. Just set it up, follow the on-screen prompts, and you should be good to go. Now what I want to do is go through a little bit of troubleshooting before we start attract mode. If your controller does not work inside of games while launching them from attract mode, go back to Emulation Station. There's an option in the menu under attract mode setup. Open the RetroPie logo, scroll down to RetroPie setup, scroll to configuration tools, and we're going to find Emulation Station. Clear and reset Emulation Station input configuration. I'm not sure what kind of controller he set this up with. It probably was a PS3 controller. And if any trace of that was left, another controller may not work correctly. If you clear, reset Emulation Station inputs, you're going to reboot the system and you have to set your controller up again, but your controller should work within the emulators. I'm hoping there's no problem with this one, but you never know. We're going to back out of here completely. So after you have your controller set up, go to the RetroPie logo, and we're going to restart in attract mode. After we click this, every time we start up the Pi, we should boot into attract mode. And here we are at the system selection menu. In this build, there's Atari 2600, Atari Lynx, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Virtual Boy, NES, SNES, N64, neo-geo, 32X, Sega CD, Game Gear, Sega Master System, Sega Mega Drive, PlayStation, FBA, and MAME. So most of the artwork is already here for all of your games. There are no games in here at all. So let's just go to, let's say, 32X. This is what the selection screen is going to look like. This is pre-mapped for a keyboard. If you press D on your keyboard, it will bring you back to the system selection menu. Now grab your keyboard because we're going to set up our controller. Tab. Scroll to controls, press enter. If your controller's not working correctly in a track mode, the best thing to do is go through and remove anything that says joy. Do not remove your keyboard inputs. So I'm going to remove all of my joy inputs. Go back. Just to make sure I have all of them removed. Some people were having trouble with the last image, so this is the best way to fix it. Escape will back you out. And make sure you only remove anything that says joy. Scroll down, make sure. See, there's some hidden down here, and you're going to need these removed to set up your controller correctly. And this is only setting it up to navigate a track mode. Everybody has different controllers, so this is the only way that I know of making it correct with all controllers. So now that all of your joys are removed, you can set up your buttons accordingly. I'm going to add an input, and I'm just going to press select on my joypad. Now that's going to be exit, up. Obviously, we want to press up on either your D-pad or your analog stick. And just go through, make sure you set everything up with your controller. Now, displays menu is important because you don't want to have to press D on your keyboard to enter the system select menu. Go to displays menu and add an input that you would like to use on your controller. I'm going to press my Xbox button right in the middle. So when I exit all of this, I'm just going to move over. When I press my Xbox button, it's going to bring me back to my system select menu. So that's the way you set up your controller. We have up, down, left, takes a second, right? Press your hotkey that you set up to go to your system selection menu. Now this will bring you into your system selection. If you want to edit anything, you can press tab on your keyboard. If you want to add another emulator, go to emulators. And Sega Dreamcast is here. These should be set up correctly to pull the artwork from the ROMs directory, snaps and wheels. And I'm going to show you how to do that when we go back to the PC. But if you would like to add another emulator, this works just like the PC version. So I definitely suggest you go over to the Attract Mode forums, sign up. If you have any questions, those guys over there are a big help. You really need to know the directories of your ROMs and everything for this to work. But the way it's set right now, you just drop your ROMs into whatever's listed here. So MAME Advanced, FBA, PlayStation, Mega Drive, Master System, Game Gear, Sega CD. All of these, your artwork and your videos should show up. We're going to leave this running. I'm going to go to the PC now, and we're going to transfer some ROMs over. So if we go into any one of these right now, there are no ROMs at all. So we'll go into Atari 2600. As you can see, there's nothing here. Leave your Raspberry Pi running. Connect it to Ethernet or Wi-Fi. If you ever need to go back to Emulation Station for any reason, the Attract Mode logo right here in the System Select menu brings you here. This is the Attract Mode options. You can launch Emulation Station from here. I'm connected with Ethernet. The PC I'm going to transfer my ROMs from is on the same exact network. Let's move to the PC now, and we're going to transfer some ROMs. I'll show you how to generate your ROMs list and start playing some games. Okay, so I'm now back at my PC. I'm connected to the same network as my Raspberry Pi. I'm going to throw some ROMs onto the Pi's SD card over network. You can open up any file explorer, go to the quick access bar at the very top, and type in //RetroPie. Press enter. It's going to bring you here. We have BIOS, configs, ROMs, splash screens. We're going to focus on ROMs right now. So all of these systems are in here from the stock RetroPie 4.1, but we're only going to be focusing on a few. There are only a few set up within a track mode because of the size of the SD card. Let's go to Game Boy. And in each one of these that's set up correctly, you'll have a box art, marquee, snap, and wheel. If we go to wheel, we can see there are pictures inside of here for every game. You need to match your ROM name to the game in order for the art to show up. If we go to snaps, these are video snaps of gameplay from each one of these games. What I'm going to do is just drag this over here. I'm going to go back. This on the right is my RetroPie. I'm connected over network. What I'm going to do is find some ROMs. I have a hard drive connected here. Go to ROMs, and I'm going to grab a couple Game Boy ROMs. This is my PC with my ROMs. This is my RetroPie's SD card. Open up Game Boy. I'm just going to drag a few in here. Back up. Keep going. Game Boy Color. Drag a few in here. Just like transferring ROMs to your RetroPie, stock RetroPie, exact same way. I have some N64. I'm only going to do a few of these because I'm running low on time right now. N64. So this 64 gigabyte image is based on Floob's 0.5 image, and I want to thank him. Really awesome guy. I'll leave a link to his page down below. This is not affiliated with the RetroPie project or a track mode at all. Some guy named Kevin did this, and it's pretty cool that he took the time to do this. If we go to PlayStation 1, there are actually only a few games listed here. Now, there's a lot if you scroll through here. But these are really good games, really playable games on the Raspberry Pi 2 and 3. If you want to add any other artwork, you'll need to find it online. You can find artwork and wheels. So this is a wheel. When we're selecting the game, this is what we select. When we see a video, this is the video we'll see. If there's not a game listed here that you want to put in, you can find wheel art online from either Hyperspin, EMU Movies. There are tons of sites that offer this. Now, it takes a lot of time to go through and do this. I'm just going to add a few more games, a couple different systems. I'll go with some SNES, and I'll throw some NES games in here, just because they transfer quickly. Now, we're going to go back to the Raspberry Pi, reboot it one time. I'm going to show you how to generate your games list. We'll have our wheels, our selection menu, and our snaps, which are our videos. Let's go back to the Pi now. Okay, so we'll need to reboot one time. So we'll go to the Attract Mode logo here. This is the Attract Mode setup. And we're going to reboot. Okay, now that we're rebooted, if we go into any one of these that we added ROMs to, we still won't see our games. So I'm going to go to N64. As you can see, there's no games. We can fix that very easily by pressing Tab, going to Emulators, and choose the corresponding emulator you want to scan for added ROMs. So I'm going to scan my N64 folders by going to the N64 under Configure Emulators. From here, make sure Info Source Scraper is set to the Games DB. For some reason, if it's not, it just doesn't generate the list. And scroll down to Generate Collection ROM List. Yes, you want to overwrite the existing list. We're going to back up. I'm going to do that same thing for Game Boy because I added some Game Boy games. Generate ROMs list. Yes. Emulators. NES. Generate ROMs list. Yes. Escape. Emulators. I'm going to do the same for Nintendo SNES. Make sure it's on the Games DB. Scroll down to Generate Collection ROM List. Yes. Now, if we exit out of here and we go into any one of these emulators that we have generated our ROMs list from, our game should show up with artwork and movies. So I did Nintendo 64, and as you can see, we have our games here. I also did it for Super Nintendo. I also did it for NES. So you'll go through each one of the emulators and generate your ROMs list. Now the last thing I want to show you is how to change the theme here. If you don't like this theme for, let's just say, NES, we're going to press Tab on our keyboard, scroll to Displays. We're going to find NES, which is right here. We're going to scroll to Layout. So this is the theme or the layout. We're at RoboSpin NES. Click on this, and we can change it to whatever we'd like. There are tons of themes in here, and I'll show you a really cool theme here. There are too many to do in this video. But if you go through this image, it's a really nice image. There's tons of stuff added here. You'll need your own games and your own BIOSes. There's none of that included. Old Room NES. Press Enter, Escape, Escape. Now we have the Old Room layout or theme for NES. Really cool. We can do that for any of them. So let's go to Super Nintendo, Tab, Displays, Nintendo SNES, Layout, and find whichever one you like. There are tons in here. I really like the Old Room, SNES, back. Now we have the Old Room SNES theme or layout. If you would like to change the way the system selection menu looks, press Tab on your keyboard, go to Displays, scroll down to Displays Menu Options. Menu Style Layout, we can change this, and I'm just going to go to Neon, and this was made by a fellow by the name of David Marti. He actually made a lot of these except for the Old Room and the RoboSpin. Neon Main, and when I exit out of here, Displays, Display Menu Options, and if you're using Neon Main, we can go to Layout Options, and right here, select Background Image. We can go to Moving, and when we go back out, we'll have a moving image in the background. I like the static image. Now my favorite look here, Tab on the keyboard, Displays, Display Menu Options, RoboSpin, Layout Options. We're going to change the cabinet to the Moon cabinet and the background to Retro. So this is my favorite look here. Looks really cool. The cabinet is beautiful. And the background's really nice too. So this is a really nice setup here. There's a lot of stuff, and I know people want millions and billions of ROMs, but it takes forever to do this, and nobody's getting paid for this. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Links are in the description. I cannot stress enough that this is no way affiliated with the RetroPie project or a track mode. This is done by independent users who just wanted to make the experience a little bit better. Like always, thanks for watching.